Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today is the start of my Words of Radiance reading vlog. I read The Way of Kings back in March, I believe, and I did vlog my experience of reading The Way of Kings, so I will have that linked if you missed that installment in my reading of the Cosmere. I had so much fun reading that book and vlogging my experience, and I had such positive feedback from it, so I've decided that now that it is time for me to read Words of Radiance, I'm going to do a very similar thing again and vlog my experience with this book. This is full spoilers, so if you have not read these books, then this is not the video for you. So I will be doing full spoilers for The Way of Kings, Words of Radiance, obviously not the rest of the books in the Stormlight Archive because I've not read them. I will mark if I do any spoilers for any other Cosmere books because I have read Mistborn, Warbreaker and Elantris, so if I do have any points where I feel like there's a crossover or an Easter egg, I will highlight if there are any spoilers for those. It's been a little while since I read The Way of Kings, March to now like end of October. I've rewatched my past self to get myself back into the mood, and I have now started and read the first 50 or so pages of this. So far I am really enjoying being back in this world and back in the Cosmere. The first few chapters sucked me straight back in. I was like, oh yes. I'm really intrigued to see what happens and where this book goes and where we go from the end of The Way of Kings and now. I don't really have any theories as such for now. At the end of The Way of Kings, it's not as though I really had any theories aside from that we were going to learn more about the Knights Radiant, because I've heard of the Knights Radiant, and so I assume at some point we're going to hear about them, and I would guess it might be in here. So that was my only real theory, and that everyone was going to the Shattered Plains, which, yeah, I don't think these are really like big ideas that I've come up with, or big theories for what's going to happen in this book. I've had the first prologue, which was intriguing because it went back to when the king was murdered. I feel like I'm missing things already. I'm sure there are going to be elements that I'm missing. Like, I feel like there are definitely things that I'm not putting together. I guess I'm over 1,000 pages into the series, but like, I feel like there are going to be links that I'm missing between these characters and I'm not picking up on everything. I mean, I really liked Shalon from book one, so I'm just really happy to have had a lot of Shalon so far in this first little bit of the book, and I'm really interested to see how she learns and we learn more of the magic system with her. I feel like it's quite a quick start, or maybe I just I got sucked straight back in. Like, I didn't have any difficulty getting back into it. I'm just intrigued also that Shalon is going to marry Adolin. I'm wondering how that's going to go, like when they meet. I wonder if that's going to be like, if they're going to hit it off or not. I wonder what's going to happen there. If that's going to be a romantic pairing that I'm going to root for or not. Okay, so I'm up to chapter 9 now. I feel like I've got loads of things which are probably going to be like read and find out. Like, you will find out, Abby. It will all start to click, but at the moment I'm like, is it my brain not piecing things together, or is it just read and find out? And it's all things to do with like the spren. So we know that Syl is an honor spren, and we know that one of the shards is called honor. So did honor like create honor spren? I had questions about after the first book, like what the spren are and where they come from and like what they are. And I just feel like I'm getting more and more of those questions now. Like, what are the spren? Did honor create all the spren? And what are these cryptics or lie spren? Do Knights Radiant bond with a certain spren of a certain affinity? So with Shalon now bonding to this lie spren, that's going to be giving her particular abilities and her particular powers, the same as that Kaladin has bonded with Syl. They're getting their powers together, like because obviously these spren are becoming more and more sentient and more intelligent as they spend time with the person they're bonded with. So is it they both draw power from each other? I just feel like I've got lots of questions to do with them. Maybe in like a few more 100 pages things will start clicking a bit more, but like, I'm just intrigued about what the spren mean and are. Also, I'm surprised Jasnah died. Jasnah's dead. Like, what? Like, okay, I was not expecting that. I was not expecting her to just be killed off. Part of me's not believing it yet. I'm like, I don't believe it. But I am starting to wonder if, is she dead? Is Jasnah really dead? I have finished part 1. So on to my first set of interludes. And Oh, I'm so intrigued what the first like meeting is going to be like between Kaladin and Amaram. I sense it's going to be something. I wonder if Kaladin's going to like rein himself in and like not give away anything, and then like attack later on, or whether there's going to be a big confrontation. I'm so excited to see it. So excited to see it. I wonder if Amaram is going to recognize him or not. I wonder if Amaram's just going to like glance over him. But I mean, I don't know, because like he is Dalinar's like captain, so he has an important role, and they are definitely going to like, the paths are definitely going to cross. Now for the interludes, which, as I said in my like first video, the interludes felt like the test thing where you like get different pieces of information, and they might not make any sense, you might not be able to figure them out, but like they might all start to slowly come together, or like they're like the test sections to see if you can like spot any links between things. So I finished those first epilogues. Okay, I really liked getting the perspective of the Pashendi. I really like that, because I'd been interested in them since the first book. Like I love it when you get different sides of a conflict and you get to understand why two sides are fighting. So I really liked that we got some view into the Pashendi and who they are, and like who they are as people, because we don't know about them at all. And I just loved the exploration of these different cultures. So as well as the Pashendi, like seeing how vast the world is and how different the different cultures are. Like I just really enjoyed that, and seeing the scope of it, because in a world like this, it's unrealistic that they would all have the same language and speak and look the same way. So I just really have enjoyed like how diverse and like how just different everyone is. I'm very like intrigued by the Pashendi and just them. Part of me thinks that, because they were saying how they have different forms, and there are 5 different forms that they know, but there used to be many and they have lost some of their forms, or they've forgotten them. That makes me think that the Voidbringers is a forgotten form, and so they change into these forms when the storm happens, or like that's when they can change. That potentially the Voidbringer is a form that they could have changed into, or maybe the Passman could have changed into. But that's my thinking with that, and I'm very interested to see what the war form is like. And I like how they have these different rhythms, which does make me question like what rhythm of war is going to be, because if they're talking about like the rhythm of peace, the rhythm of whatever, and then rhythm of war, and I'm like, okay, really like that. And then I'm also just thinking more about like who's killing off the people that have these Knights Radiant like abilities. There's obviously a group of people that want to prevent the Knights Radiant from reforming. Whether they're related to the Pashendi in any way, because the Pashendi seem to want that as well, or they're a completely separate identity. But it seems as though there's this group that don't want the Knights Radiant to reform, which is why they've killed Jasna and why they killed Yim as well. And so they're obviously trying to find these people and kill them to prevent them from fulfilling their role. I was also thinking about the Spren, because I feel like I've talked a lot about the Spren and like how they're in my head. But like the Spren, so thinking about there being Honor Spren, and there was a shard called Honor, and they keep referring to these Spren that are coming, like this evil, this force. So part of me is thinking that humans create Spren. So like if you have exhaustion Spren, you have whatever creative Spren, you have these Spren that can form around humans. And then there's saying that there's Honor Spren. So that makes me think that, well, are these Spren from Honor? And then there's Odium, who's the big evil. Does he in some way create Spren as well? And this an evil Spren that's coming. So those are some thoughts as of right now. I don't really have any thoughts on like any of the epigraphs or anything as yet. I mean, I got that like, the first set of epigraphs were from Navani's journal from a year in the future, I think it was. But yes, I don't know what these listener songs are for the start of part 2, which is just where I'm at now. So I'm at chapter 19, or I've just finished it, where it's like Shalon 5.5 years ago. And we know that her father, like things went on, like it seems to be saying that her father killed her mother. And we know that Shalon, at some point, she says that she kills her father. I'm wondering what was happening there. But I'm wondering about her brother, Hilarin, because he has a Shardblade. So when he's got some powerful friends, but he's got this Shardblade from him, I'm like, I wonder how who he knows and how he's got it. And also he says there are more important things in this world than his father's crimes, and that he's got to go off somewhere and he's got to go do these things, and he has important work to do. I will tell you of it someday. And I'm like, I wonder what he's going to go do, and I wonder who his powerful friends are that have given him this Shardblade, and that he now has these powers. Part of me wonders if he's in the group of people that are going around killing the people that they think are becoming more like the Knights Radiant. Just wanted to check in on how my reading was going. So I have just reached the end of part 2, and oh my god, the last few pages that I've read, I have thoroughly enjoyed. The moment where Shalon and Kaladin meet, it was hilarious. It was so funny where she was demanded his boots. I was laughing so much. That scene, hilarious, absolutely hilarious. I was like, what is going on here? And then everything after that, it was just so dramatic. There was so much happening. So I was thinking that Tin was the assassin friend that Jasnar had at the beginning. Liz, I think her name was. I was wondering if that was the same person. That was my theory, that they were one and the same. There's multiple things to unpick here. There's so many things. I guess we'll just talk about the assassin at first, the assassination attempt on Dalinar, and the confrontation between Seth and Kaladin, and that whole confrontation and what went on there, because that was very intense. How Kaladin as well was able to heal himself from the cut of a Shardblade. It was a very intense scene. It was so intense. I was like, what's going to happen? Is someone going to die? I was like, no one can die. They can't die. I think that was really interesting, and I wonder what the repercussions are going to be afterwards with Dalinar and Adolin, and how their perception of Kaladin might change, because they know that he survived that and they saw him fight. And I'm also intrigued by what happened prior to that, when Kaladin gets a sense that something's going to happen, and he's in the storm, and the storm's you will kill Syl, and you will murder my child and leave her corpse to wicked men. And so I just wonder, because they mentioned that a few times, that the men killed the Spren, or the Spren that they were bonded to, and the repercussions of having a relationship with a Spren. So I wonder why they keep repeating that men killed their Spren. What caused them to kill the Spren that they were linked to? What prompted that? I feel there's more that could be unpacked that I haven't unpacked. There's more going on. There's been references to odium, and I feel there's things going on, and I haven't quite pieced it all together, because as well with the epigraphs, I feel there's more going on there that I haven't quite pieced together either. So I just feel there's a lot that's going on, and I haven't quite pieced it yet. I feel there's a lot of, I think how I described it before, I was doing a jigsaw puzzle, and it was a nice 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and then I realised that actually this is not a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, it's a 6,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, and I've only been doing this tiny section of it. And the final chapter of part 2 with Shalon and Tin, and she, oh wow, that reveal that Tin was the one that orchestrated the assassination attempt on Jasnar and Shalon. Okay, cool, right. Or Tin had been orchestrating around the world. I feel what Tin's role was, suddenly we knew that there was more to her, but now we're well, what was she really doing? And then Shalon with the Shardblade. Shalon has a Shardblade? What? Shalon has a Shardblade? I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that at all. I was shocked. Oh, so intrigued. I'm so intrigued for what's going to happen when they get to the Shattered Plains, and just to see how it all unfolds. And then Shalon's going to meet with Tin's contacts. I love Shalon. She is my favourite. Shalon is my favourite. Okay, I'm reading the Interludes, and I've just read I read the Eshonai one. Who knows what's going on there, but Zahel. I have a theory. Zahel is not from Roshar. That's my theory. I don't know where he's from, but he's not from Roshar. He's not from this world of the cosmos. He's a world topper. Because his use of the language, he's no proper metaphors here at all. He keeps using phrases that they don't know. And then the last bit where he says he expected a voice to speak his mind as he drifted off. Of course, there wasn't one, hadn't been one in years. He used to hear voices in his head. It makes me think that either he was from the Mistborn universe or from Warbreaker. I expect that he is not from here, because I know there are instances in both those universes, worlds, both instances in those worlds where people heard things inside their heads that weren't their selves. So I've just read chapter 45, Middlefest, which is the Shalon chapter from 3.5 years ago, where they're at the festival, and I have theories. So I think the person, the messenger that came from Halloran was Wit. I think that's Wit, and that was Wit like testing her, or like seeing if she had the powers, and obviously it was a success. Like, he saw that she had some sort of powers, and that is Wit. 100%. That's what I think is Wit. And then that also makes me think that Wit is some form of Mistborn. I don't know if I'm stretching things here, but like when he pours the thing in the glass and then he drinks it himself, I wonder if that was him putting metals into his drink and then drinking the metals like Mistborns do. I don't know if that's stretching things, but like, why else would you drink something like that? Like, why else would you do that? So that was my only logical explanation for that. I don't know if I've jumped to too many conclusions here thinking that it's Wit and that Wit's a Mistborn, but that's my theories for that, and that's what I'm thinking so far from that chapter. Theory. Uruthiru is not in this like realm. This it's not in the human realm. It's in like another realm. It's in Shadesmere. Like, Uruthiru isn't a city that you can get to like easily. The reason it's on all the different maps in different places is because it's not a place in the world that humans live in. It's in the Spren world. It's that makes it, yeah. It's in Shadesmere. It's in Shadesmere. Well, that's a theory. Hello, good morning. So I had this epiphany last night. Well, maybe it's an epiphany, or maybe my theory is just completely wrong. But anyway, I was like going to bed and I was falling asleep, and then suddenly I had this moment, this light bulb moment, and I was like, oh my god, I've realised something. So I then went off to sleep, and then I woke up this morning and I was like, right, was it just like a sleep deprived brain thought, or was my like very sleepy brain actually onto something? And I think my sleepy brain was onto something, but my morning brain has come along and it has convinced me that I am right, that I have got a correct theory. So the theory, I'm currently at page 617, so chapter 53, and Shalon has just found out that Amaram has Helarin's old Shardblade. So that's for perspective where I am, and I'm very hoping that I will find out if my theory is correct. I'll be so happy if my theory is correct. Here we go, let's break it down. I think that the Shardblades are trapped Spren. So the Knights Radiant had a bond or an oath with their Spren, like what is forming with Shalon and Patton and Kaladin and Zil. Like, they had this bond, and at some point their Spren were able to turn into their Shardblade, because the Shard is from Honor. So the Shardblade must be something that comes from Honor, and the Spren come from Honor too. Oh, you can see I've already thought this. I've got excited by this. So these Shardblades are trapped Spren, and the reason that Sylve says these Shardblades are bad and evil, and that there's something wrong with them, and that they keep going on about how the Spren stopped working with humans, is because the Knights Radiant, like, they gave up. They left their swords behind. They broke their oath with the Spren when they left their blades, trapping their Spren in those blades permanently. And the same, thinking this more through, when they keep going on about the oath pact being broken, the same happened when the Heralds did the exact same thing with their swords, which were even more than the Spren. I'm assuming that they have a bit more of honour in them, I don't know, but they're super blades. They did the same thing when they gave up their swords, trapping the Spren in them as well. So that's the oath pact being broken, is that they broke their pact with the Spren, trapping the Spren that they were bonded to in the Shardblade. And that's why the Spren have stopped working with the humans, because they've been betrayed by humans of the past. And so now when they keep repeating that Shalon and Kaladin are going to kill their own Spren, it's because that's what happened in the past when the Knights Radiant abandoned their Shardblades. They killed their Spren, trapping them in the blade. Oh, I'm right. Am I right? I'm right. I think I'm right. I've convinced myself. So now I'm still trying to like piece it through, like, so that's where my logic has got to. And my morning brain, like, that was a very half-formed thought when I thought of it at like midnight, but now my like brain this morning has like continued piecing this through and piecing it all together. And I've convinced myself. I am convinced. If this isn't right, then I will be so upset if this isn't right, because I'm so convinced on this theory. I'm so convinced on it. Oh. Then this makes me question what this means for the Parshendi. I wonder what their relationship with the Spren is like, or was like, what this means. Because I'm guessing that they killed... Maybe they don't want humans to have this relationship with the Spren. No, they don't. The Parshendi don't want humans to have their relationship with the Spren, because when the Knights of Radiance were around, they were killing off the Parshendi, who were the Voidbringers. And so that's why they didn't want whatever Gavilar was doing to happen, because Gavilar, I guess, wanted to reform that bond, which is why they killed him off. Well, the rest of it's a bit more half-formed, but like the whole like beginning of that idea, I'm dead set on it. Dead set on it. I'm so proud of myself. Well, I'm saying I'm so proud of myself. I really hope it's correct. I really hope that I'm ahead of the game here with this theory. I really hope that I've like thought it all through. Oh, I'm so convinced. Aside from like theories, in terms of thoughts, I'm really enjoying it. I'm really, really enjoying this book. I love Shalon. Shalon, so much. Love her. I will say that I would like a little bit more Dalinar. I feel like we haven't had that much Dalinar. We haven't seen like much of his visions. We haven't seen much of his visions. I feel like we've had a lot of Shalon, which I love. I love Shalon. I find Shalon's chapters so interesting, and she's such a complex character. I just love Shalon. And I feel like Adolin, I didn't really like him in book one, but Adolin's definitely growing on me. I'm liking Adolin a lot more in this book. Kaladin, the same. Like, still like really like Kaladin. I feel like because we've had so much Shalon, it's been to the detriment of Dalinar. I still like Dalinar, but I feel like we haven't had so much time with him. But I believe like book 3 is Dalinar's book anyway, so over halfway now. Over halfway. I'm getting there. Also, I loved the structure of chapter 52, the last one I read last night, where it jumped back and forth between Shalon and Kaladin as they both like learnt more about the powers. So you see Shalon like infiltrating Amaram's household and like pretending, like putting that visage over herself and being different people, and her like just growing in her powers. And the same with Kaladin, as the way he like learnt to ride the winds. And I loved how it jumped back and forth between them both learning things about their powers. Finding out that like Amaram has Shalon's brother's sword. Oh my god. I was like, what? I was shook by that, which means that, did Kaladin kill Shalon's brother? Oh, that's juicy. That's juicy. Okay, so I've just been listening whilst doing my jigsaw puzzle, and I've got to this scene. Kaladin going into the duel to save Adolin and Ralarin. Oh, okay. Right, I've got to keep going. But like, if I wasn't convinced of my theory before now, I am so convinced of my theory about the Spren being in the Shardblade. So convinced. That duel. What? Wow. There are going to be some repercussions from this. Wow. And then the Kaladin saying, "And for my boon, I demand the right of challenge against the murderer Amaram. He stole from me and slaughtered my friends. To cover it up, Amaram branded me as slave. I will duel him here right now." Oh, I was like shouting along with Kaladin. I was like, yes, Kaladin. But then, oh no, it's all going wrong. Oh no. Adolin went into prison alongside Kaladin. Oh, that is like, I mean, it's spoiled because like he obviously did not need to do that, but oh, I just love that. When Kaladin, when he sees it and he's like, oh my god, what are you doing here? And he's like, don't worry, I still had a bath. I point blank refuse to believe that Syl is dead. I refuse. Not true. No, I refuse. But I did really enjoy like the Shalon and Kaladin getting to know each other in the chasms. Loved that. Interested in what Shalon has been discovering about them being like symmetrical and all of that, and them just like becoming friends and like chatting, and the jokes that they share, the banter between them. Like, enjoy their interactions. But Syl is not dead. I finished part 4 and I'm at the Interludes and the Eshonai one. So I wanted to talk about the Parshendi and the Spren, because from what I've understood, the Spren, during the storm, the Parshendi end up like taking in the Spren, and that like gives them their abilities. So whether that's like a Spren that helps them work, or a Spren that helps them mate, or whatever, like it's a Spren that sort of inhibits them, gives them more fluidity towards that, more desire to do that thing. And so what I'm assuming has happened is that this storm version that they have taken on now, the Spren that they are inhibited, the Spren that have entered them are odium's spren, and that it is them in those odium spren that are now infusing them, which is why they're becoming more violent and aggressive, and why their chants are and their rhythms are all subverted and are all just sort of versions of the ones that they had before but are now more aggressive. That is my thinking, that this storm version is an odium spren in getting into their system. But that also makes me think the same thing happens when the Voidbringers are Parshendi that have been vicious spren infuse them. I'm trying to think of the right words here, but like, it is the spren that cause these things, that is the spren that have made them into these instead of them being on a spren or like a spren, healthy spren, it is these odium spren that made this storm version of them. And then the same for the Voidbringers, it would be some hateful spren that would create a Voidbringer. At least that's what I'm thinking and my theory for now. So I'm just reading the Taravangian interlude. Really interesting. I'm intrigued about his waking up, being clever on some days and not clever on other days. But I think there's a very telling sentence in here, which is when they're talking about Seth, when they meet Seth and like who Seth's seen, and they suggest Yasna's ward, so Shalon, and then they say, already they hypothesized that the girl had been trained, if not by Yasna, then by the girl's brother before his death. I think that's the whole sentence. There's a lot going on there that can be unpicked. Like, two things. So one, the first thing that I thought was before his death. So does that mean they obviously knew that Helleran was Shalon's brother, and I wonder how they knew that. And also, does that mean that Taravangian killed Shalon's brother Helleran? Like, did they orchestrate that, or how does he know about Helleran and Shalon's brother's death? First important thing. And also, they were hypothesizing that Yasna had trained Shalon or Helleran. So does that mean that Helleran also was displaying powers of the Knights Radiant, and Helleran also had these powers? And what does that mean? Those were my instinct thoughts about that little like sentence. Yeah, but Taravangian, very interesting character. Things are really heating up now. Like, I guess 150 pages to the end now, and things are definitely heating up. I just finished chapter 76, so they're just about to go off into the plains on their march, and we have the scene where Dalinar and Kaladin and Amaram meet, and Dalinar says to Amaram, apologise. I loved that. And the reveal that Dalinar has bonded with this Shardblade. Now, part of me is questioning. So we know that this is Towns the Herald's Shardblade, but I don't think the description doesn't make it sound like it's his honor blade or whatever they would call it, like the super Shardblade. Like, it makes it just sound like a normal Shardblade. It doesn't make it sound like it was the super blade. So what's happened to this super blade? Where is that? What's happened to that? Is that still with Town? Is Town still bonded to that one? But also interesting how he says, where he says, even if it feels wrong somehow to hold one, strange that, why should it feel wrong? We know that Shardblade start to feel wrong if you have bonded with a spren and that you're becoming a Knights Radiant. So that's why, like, Kaladin didn't want to hold one. And so I feel like potentially, because we haven't had that much time with Dalinar, that he is bonding with a spren, and he now doesn't want to touch Shardblade because he can sense the dead spren in it, my old theory from earlier. And I assume Dalinar's going to be a Knights Radiant. Obviously, he's going to have powers. Yeah. I'm set on it. I'm set on it. Part of me just wouldn't be surprised if they all did, like Dalinar, Idolin, Shalon, Kaladin. They're all going to be Knights Radiant. That's what I'm thinking. That's why he is now hesitant to hold this Shardblade. Also, I find it interesting how when Amaram says, sometimes good men must die so the greater goal may be accomplished. So he sort of seems similar to Taravangian in their mentality, that they're doing this for the greater good and that they're working to a larger purpose. Now, I wonder if this larger purpose, I wonder who's given this larger purpose. Like, okay, they've got this larger purpose and they're wanting to unite everyone. Now, has this message to unite, where does it come from? And I just feel a situation like that we've had in spoilers in Mistborn, where what the characters thought they should do and what they thought was the right path was actually Ruin manipulating them onto a path that suited Ruin's agenda and not the agenda that would save the world. Part of me is not worried, but I just fear that these people are working towards an agenda, and their agenda, they're thinking we've got to unite, we've got to do this is a greater goal, we've got to do this. And I'm wondering where they've got this agenda. Like, is this agenda like a message from Honor? And is this agenda that we want them to be working towards? Or is this actually a agenda that Odium has planted? Maybe I'm just trying to see a pattern between what happened in Mistborn to here, but I don't know. It's just something, it was just a thought. I just don't know if I trust that, especially when you look at the characters that are doing this. So if you look at Amaram, who we don't trust at all because of his past actions, the same with Taravangian, I don't trust him. So is it these morally grey characters that are actually trying to go to the greater good? Is it just that their cold-heartedness is that what drives them, in that they don't care how many people they killed, they don't care on the consequences because they are trying to think of the greater good? Thing that I was thinking about was mentioned in Lift's interlude, where it was saying that there is the consequence or something, and that for her it's that she, or like the power but consequence, that sort of dynamic. So for her it's that she can pull Stormlight from her own self. Food consumption feeds her powers. She doesn't need to get Stormlight from an outside source, she can get it from herself. But that's also a detriment in that she's never fully nourished. So then that makes me question like what that sort of balance is in the other people that we know that have powers or that will be Knights Radiant. We know that Dalinar doesn't have any visions or doesn't have any memory of his wife. And so I wonder if that was his trade-off, and that's what was his balancing, that he lost those memories. Part of me also wonders about Renarin and whether Renarin's epilepsy is part of that, because particularly it says in this chapter, I need to talk to him more about his condition. Kaladin thought some things seemed off to him about that man and his explanation of his epilepsy. So part of me wonders if that is as well related. Okay, so I have 120 pages left. I hope to finish it at the weekend, but I did not, and it's now Monday. So I just thought, because I've got 120 pages left, I could talk through some of my theories for the ending of the book, because I know that it's got a very explosive ending. So I wanted to talk about some of my thoughts about what's going to come up. And also I wanted to talk about the greater good. So I was thinking more about that, because you have these characters that are saying they're doing things for the greater good. You have Taravangian, you have Sadius, you have Amaram, you have Moash as well. Like, you have all these characters. You have, the Ghostbloods as well, all of them, and they're all saying they're doing something for the greater good. But what is this greater good? What is the greater good? What is the greater good for these people? And is the greater good the same for these people? Everyone's greater good is going to be different. Because they're each going to be working towards their own ideals and their own vision of what the greater good is. The greater good of Sadius is going to be very different to the greater good of Moash. Sadius is going to be, and the same for Amaram, they're going to be thinking of the light eyes. Their greater good is for the best of the light eyes. Whereas Moash, his greater good is for the best of the dark eyes. Like, they have a different greater good. And the same with Taravangian. Taravangian is working towards a purpose that his diagram has laid out, but the diagram he created when he was at his most intelligent. And his most intelligent had no compassion. When he is at his most intelligent, he's not thinking about people as people. He's thinking about them as numbers. So he has no compassion for the individual person. So is that really a greater good if you are thinking about people as just an object, not as an actual person with feelings and emotions? So how do we know that these greater goods are actually greater goods that are going to benefit humanity, or they're just looking very, very clinically? It's when Kaladin turned towards thinking, oh, it's the greater good if we kill Elethkar. It's for the greater good if we kill him off. It will be for the greater good if I allow that murder to happen, even though it goes against his morals. And that's when Syl started turning away from him. And that made me think that Syl is an honor spran. Honor spran. And what this action does of going for the greater good is dishonourable. It's not honourable at all. And so that's why she's turned away. And the first words of the Knights Radiant are journey before destination. If your destination is the greater good, you've still got to think, if based on those words, that you've got the destination to get there. And if the destination is killing your way through all these people and losing your morals and becoming like that, then have you really got to the greater good? Have you lost your way and not actually got to a greater good that you were envisaging to get to at the beginning, and that you are ended up in a worse place because you have done all this murdering and hurt all these people in this vision that you had from before? I don't know. That's what I was thinking about. And I was like, by committing these actions, that's why Syl, who is there for the honour, she can't support Kaladin when he's doing something so dishonourable. And I thought it was a really interesting, like, philosophical study as well, when you think about it, whether Sanderson is putting some of his own thoughts into that. Because if you look at the philosophy of it, there's the philosophy of weighing up the greater good. And you look at the characters that are saying they're doing the greater good, and the characters are all people that we do not support. As the reader, we are not behind Amaram or Sadius or Taravangian. We're not like necessarily behind them. We're not rooting for them. We are rooting for people like Kaladin and Dalinar and Shalon. We're rooting for those characters. I mean, they are our POV perspectives, but we're not rooting for those characters that are saying they're doing the greater good. The one that we are most rooting for is Moash, but we're not fully rooting for him. So it makes it interesting that we are rooting for people that are there for that are there for everyone, but they're not doing it for this greater good. Is Sanderson putting some sort of philosophical thoughts in here, in that should we be fighting for the greater good, or should we just be doing the journey before the destination? The destination may be the greater good, but it depends on how you get there, and that is the journey. So then I was thinking about what's going to happen. So my theories for the next 120 pages. So obviously it's all going to come to a head. Everything that we've been building towards, we've had this prophecy, the whole book, that there's 60 whatever days until whatever, and now we're going to be approaching that in these last 120 pages. I expect that Kaladin is going to save Elhokar. I don't think he's going to go through with it. I think he's going to do the honourable thing. He's going to come to his senses and he is going to save Elhokar. Despite how much I hate Elhokar, despite how much I think that he's a whining, annoying person, I don't like him, and part of me wants him to die because he's so annoying. But I think Kaladin is honourable, and Kaladin will save him. Kaladin will prevent the Ghostblood assassination attempt and will save him. And that will allow for Syl to come back. Because I refuse to believe that Syl is dead. I refuse. I'm hoping that will all work out. I'm hoping we will get the reveal on the Shardblades that I have been thinking about since like midway through the book, or whenever I started thinking about these Shardblades being spread. I want to know if I'm correct. I think I'm correct. But I want the confirmation on the page that I am correct about the Shardblades. That everything is pointing towards it. Like, Aiden talks to his Shardblade. He thinks his Shardblade understands him. Like, I know I am correct. I know I am. There's so many points pointing towards it, but I just want it on the page confirmed that the Shardblades are Spren. And then obviously there's going to be the battle, or coming to the head of the Parshendi and Dalinar and his warband. Like, that is going to come to a head. But I don't know if these rogue Parshendi are going to come involved, if they're going to try and like save the day, well, not save the day, but like try and intervene somehow or other, or are they going to find this Oathgate that Shalon has been trying to find, or the mapping of the planes. So I feel like there's going to have to be a reveal. There's going to have to be something that I haven't figured out. There's going to have to be something that I've not plotted. I was right about everything. I was right that Kaladin was going to come to his senses and save the day, and that was going to mean that Syl could come back. I was right about everything. And about the Shardblades, I was right about it all. Like, it literally just plotted out exactly how I had it in my head, that Kaladin was going to go and save the king from the Ghostbloods, and in doing so, Syl would come back, and there we go. Obviously, I've loved my time reading this, but I'm also a bit annoyed with myself for having predicted all of that. I have 60 pages left, and I really hope that there's something that I haven't predicted in these 60 pages. Everyone has said the ending of Words of Radiance is so good. It's so good. Everyone's like, the ending of Words of Radiance is so epic. It's so epic. Does it come in these last 60 pages? Because right now I feel like I've just predicted it. So last night I finished Words of Radiance. So I thought I would just check in now and finish off the vlog with all my final thoughts on the book. So I think my expectations for the ending might have been a little bit too high because of everyone telling me about the Sandalange, and I felt like I predicted quite a lot of it. So I feel like I had the oh shit moment like in the middle of the book when I made all those predictions. So when it got to the end, I was like, yeah, fine, I predicted this. And so I was hoping for something that was outside of my predictions, but my predictions were accurate. I was happy that my predictions were right, but I sort of knew they were right because everything was pointing towards them. So I get why everyone says it's really, really epic, but also I was like, but I saw it coming. And so a lot of my actual favourite parts of the book were more in the middle. When I was having these realizations, by the time I got to the ending, I was like, oh well yeah. So my favourite scenes were like the duel with Adolin and Kaladin against the other 4 shard bearers. Like that scene was a favourite. The scenes with Kaladin and Shalon in the chasms, like that was a favourite. So those were more of my favourite scenes compared to the ending. I don't know if that's a weird unpopular opinion, but maybe I just had expectations about what the ending was going to be. This isn't to say that I didn't love the book. I mean, I'm giving the book 5 stars because I had so much fun and such an experience reading it, but maybe my expectations were just a bit too high for that ending. So I want to talk about the ending. I was like, Seth's not going to be dead. He's not going to be dead. I know it. So I wasn't really surprised when he wasn't dead or was resurrected, which I want to talk about. There were 3 resurrections. Guys, 3. I mean, as sad as it is, does he not want to kill off his characters? Like, come on. If you kill a character, kill a character. Commitment. I want a commitment to the death. But, you know, Syl, which I wanted Syl to come back. I didn't expect Syl to be dead, but, yeah, Syl, Seth, Jasnar, come on. Come on, kill them. I mean, that might sound really harsh, but I like, if a character is dead, I want them to be dead, fully dead. I don't want people to be resurrected. Even though the Jasnah thing, that was something that I didn't predict. So that was one thing that I was like, okay, I didn't predict this. Okay, back to Seth and Seth coming back. And he was resurrected by one of the heralds, Nail or Nin or whatever their name is. And that's the same person that killed Yin in the interlude from like the first interlude. That was the same person because the descriptions are exactly the same, and I feel quite proud of myself for spotting that. As soon as they said who he was, I was like, that's the person that killed Yin. And so part of me questions, like, why is this herald wanting to kill off these people? I don't know what their motives are. And if we have the mad herald Talin or Talinel, and we have this herald, that means the other heralds are going to be around in the world. I would assume, like, the other heralds are going to be there. And does that mean that we've met another herald? Have we already come across them? Have we already met them without realising that they are a herald? That is my question. And that is something that I'm wondering for the future, if we have heralds that we don't know are heralds. I don't have a prediction of who is a herald, but that is a theory that I have. I'm intrigued by his motives. I'm sure that would be more explored as to why he kills these people. He says it's for justice, and I'm like, justice, I don't know, is he just gone a bit mad? Renarin being a Knights Radiant, yeah, saw that coming, yeah, obvious. Adolin killing Sadeas, I was really happy about that. I didn't see it coming, so I'm really, really happy that Adolin killed Sadeas. I was like, yes, Adolin, yes. I feel like it's going to have some repercussions, but Sadeas needed to die. He was just insufferable. So very happy that he is out of the picture. Jasnar coming back and Wit finding her. Part of me was surprised, part of me wasn't surprised. I think I've just grown used to throughout the whole book that Jasnar was dead. I was like, yeah, she's dead, it's fine, we're okay. So then her not being dead, I was like, oh, does she have to come back? So I think it's interesting about Wit finding her, about this thing called, did you need to else call, whatever else calling is. I assume it's an important term, and I think she's been in Shazna, she's been on the other side, she's been doing things, which makes me question like how those worlds, how much time you can spend in one of those worlds and how much time you have to spend in our world and what impact you have if you were over there. I think there's lots to be explored. I think I'd be definitely interested in seeing what happens, or if we spent more time in Shazna. And I feel like that could happen later on. I mean, I think it was a good ending. I think I just had my expectations a little bit too high for it. Overall, I really loved the book. I really loved some of the themes in it. I really loved the characters. Obviously, Shalon is still my favourite. I cannot believe, well, I can believe, but like, I cannot believe she killed both her parents. She killed both her mum and her dad, which is pretty brutal. It's brutal. So, I mean, I love Shalon. I loved the time we got with her. I think she's such a complex character. I'm very intrigued to see where it goes next and see what happens. I mean, I think we're going to have to explore a lot more the different types of Radiant in the next book and explore them more in detail as more and more people start to gain these powers, because it seems at the end that more and more people are slowly developing these powers of being a Knights Radiant, and that it's becoming much more prolific in the same way that there's going to be more and more Voidbringers. There's going to be more and more Knights Radiant. I'm definitely intrigued to see how they develop their powers, how they come to learn them. We're gonna be out of the Shattered Plains now. It might become a bit more global in sense that there's going to be more of the world coming into play, because we see all these different conflicts which are arising throughout the world, and so it's not going to be so focused on the Shattered Plane and the Parshendi. I wonder what's happened to the Parshendi, because they didn't kill them all, they just sort of disappeared off. And you also have this group of rogue Parshendi that didn't go along with this change into being the storm version of themselves. So I wonder what's happened to them, and if they are at risk of turning into Voidbringers, or if it's just going to be the Parshmen that turn into Voidbringers. And part of me also wonders if there's going to be more stuff on some of the different creatures. We've had some exposure to, or some talk of, both the Chasm Fiends as well as the Santid, and so I just wonder if there's going to be a bit more on them, or I feel like they've been mentioned, but we haven't had like that much information on them. And I feel like there could be more to them than what we know. And I expect as well that we're going to spend more time in Shadesmere as we learn more and more about the Spren. And I guess as well, we'll have to learn more about the Honor Blades and what happened to them. I believe they're with the Shin. So how did the Shin get them? Like, what have they been doing with them? And what's going to happen with them? And so yeah, also I love seeing the Nightblood, or whatever the sword's name is, from Warbreaker. I love that little crossover, so definitely interested to see what happens there. I think that Zahel is from Warbreaker. I don't think he's Mistborn, I think he's Warbreaker, because the sword's from Warbreaker as well, and everyone talks about the Warbreaker link. So logically, I think Zahel is from Warbreaker. I love trying to spot the Easter eggs, but maybe that was to my detriment at the end, because I was trying to be so on the ball and so like awake when I was reading this book, and maybe I was a bit too much on the ball. I loved it. I really did love this book. It was such a great experience reading it, and I am excited to get to Oathbringer probably sometime in 2022. Thank you so much for watching. If you've made it this far, please like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye!